Well, folks, today is a major turning point for Nintendo Switch 2 speculation in regards to the release date, because up until now, every single report has been about the console releasing in 2024, but today we have two major reports that could indicate that this new console from Nintendo releases in early 2025. There is a lot of information to digest and get into, so I won't waste your time too long here in the intro, but if you are new here and you enjoy Nintendo Switch 2 speculation theories discussion, I would appreciate you subscribing. Let's get into it. Hello there, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Botox Games. Doing two videos today. I already posted one talking about the supposed partner showcase and what's going on with that, but now we have two major reports from at least one outlet that many would consider to be very reliable regarding the Switch 2's release timing. Now, if you are a subscriber of this channel, if you've been watching my videos for the past 3 years, I have been expecting the Nintendo Switch 2 to release in 2025, and quite frankly, I have gotten so much flack for this in my comments on Twitter, on forums. People hate the idea that I've been saying that the Switch 2 might release in 2025. So I have to say, with this first reporting of it potentially releasing in 2025, I do feel a little vindicated. I'm just going to say it straight up. However, it's all still rumors. Take it with a grain of salt. It could still release this year. It could release next year. Who actually knows until Nintendo confirms anything themselves? So it all started this morning from a Brazilian podcast, which of course I don't speak Portuguese, but there is a summary out there. This is basically the gist of it, right? On this podcast, which I'll have linked down below, they said they have a lot of sources indicating a Q1 2025 release based on a calendar year, not fiscal year, which is something very specific they made sure to specify. They said that they believe we'll know for sure what's going on in March. They do think it will be announced officially from Nintendo in March, which we've heard from Nate the Hate as well as Necrolipe, so that checks out. Another one of their sources said that it had been originally slated for a 2024 calendar year release, but got delayed. They said that releasing it next fiscal year is Nintendo's goal. So for those that don't know, next fiscal year for Nintendo runs from April 1st, 2024 to March 31st, 2025, which is exactly what I've been saying. This is exactly what I've been saying, that Nintendo, yes, they could rush it out for a holiday release and they would do very well this holiday season. Why would they not mimic the release timing of the Switch? The Switch gave them more time for their developers to release games, it gave them more time to get stock ready, and in this case, it would let the Switch sell for another whole holiday season by itself with presumably a new Pokemon game. All while actually still pleasing investors by releasing a new console within the same fiscal year. On the podcast, they also said that they know Nintendo has more games for Switch 1 coming this year, but that they'll be smaller titles, and finally, they are expecting a Switch 2 blowout in June, so I would assume, reveal of the console, actual game announcements, that will be our proper blowout, similar to the January 2017 presentation for the original Switch. We're gonna get that in June. Now, quite frankly, I'm not that familiar with this source. I know they are pretty prominent on a Reset Era, I believe. Over there, they had leaked, and this is crazy, they had leaked WWE 2K Battlegrounds for the Switch back in 2020, or at the very least teased it, so I'm not that familiar with their track record. However, someone else that I am more familiar with, and that also speaks English, so it makes reading the information a lot easier, they came out and basically said a very similar thing. So we have a report from Andy Robinson over at VGC kind of corroborating what they said on this Brazilian podcast. So I'm just going to read through this whole thing with you guys. Nintendo Switch 2 could now launch in 2025, it's claimed. New report suggests Nintendo's next console could arrive later than expected. That's according to Brazilian journalist Pedro Henrique Ludilipe, sorry I'm butchering that name, who claims in a new Oxdo Control video that he received the information from 5 separate sources who indicated they were working on games targeting Q1 2025. Previously, VGC reported that Nintendo was targeting a launch for its next console in late 2024 per development sources. This was later supported by other outlets. 2 development sources VGC spoke to on Friday indicated that they were working on Switch 2 games planned for release early next year, but could not confirm if that meant a later than expected launch for the console itself. Although the company is yet to comment publicly, Nintendo Switch successor was widely expected to launch this year. In its latest earnings meeting earlier this month, Nintendo President Satoru Furukawa again declined to comment on plans for its next generation console. And then they kind of just go on here to say, yeah, their next fiscal year runs until April 1st, 2025, or I guess it'd be March 31st, 2025, so something I already went over earlier in this video. So this is all pretty major news. I mean, to see Andy Robinson over at VGC, I mean, they were one of the main people reporting 2024, and, I don't think they're necessarily backpedaling. I think they're saying, hey, these games that we're hearing about, maybe they're just coming out in Q1 2025 on this new hardware, But if you're like Ubisoft or something, which I'm, let's just say their source is Ubisoft, you would want to have your game ready for the launch of the console if it's coming out holiday 2024. So once again, just take all of this with a grain of salt. Like I said at the top, it could come out in 2024, it could come out in 2025. However, this is the first official mention from a news outlet, a reputable news outlet, of it releasing in 2025. So I wanted to hop on here and make a video because what the heck is going on? Now listen, if you know me, you know I've been saying 2025 for a very long time. However, when we heard about this partner showcase, that once again still hasn't happened, when we heard about this partner showcase, I was like, oh, if we're getting a partner showcase, I mean, in my mind, the likelihood of the Switch 2 releasing in 2024 skyrocketed. But that doesn't seem to have affected anything, because maybe Nintendo just doesn't have that many games releasing this year. I was talking to Andre's Restart on Twitter this morning. We're kind of living in maybe the worst timeline where the Switch 2 doesn't release this year, and Nintendo doesn't have that many exciting new releases for the Switch 1. That is the worst timeline, because for all this time, as I've been saying in my videos, if the Switch 2 was going to be in 2025, I was expecting a big, beefy February Direct laying out a lot of games for 2024, and some very exciting ones at that. I mean, we're going to get a Pokemon Presents in a couple weeks here, I would assume, so there will be a Pokemon game this year at least, and maybe a spin-off or something. But if there's no February Directs, where are all the Switch 1 games, Nintendo? Especially if we are to believe that there will be a Switch 2 blowout in June. That to me says that there has to be a Nintendo Direct between now and June. They have to announce some Switch 1 games if there's not going to be a new console this holiday season. So why do a partner showcase, potentially, if that even ends up happening, although based on what Puro is saying, it does seem like next week is the week for a partner showcase. Why do a partner showcase when you don't even have a new piece of hardware releasing this year with exclusive games? They could have just done a regular February Direct and moved on like normal. Now, on that podcast, they also mentioned that Nintendo will be releasing smaller games for the Switch this year. But what does that really mean? This happened last year with, I think, Chris Drang and even actually Andy Robinson, maybe, where people were saying that Tears of the Kingdom was the last major Nintendo Switch game and that there wasn't going to be anything that exciting afterwards. Go figure, we got Mario Wonder, which was a huge hit for the Switch last holiday season. Is Metroid Prime a big game? Based on sales, it's not. Is Tomodachi Life a big game? Is a new 2D Donkey Kong a big game? Or is that a small game? What does that really mean? What does a smaller game mean from this person for Nintendo fans? Because to me, if Mario Wonder was considered a smaller game last year, then yeah, I think a 2D Donkey Kong game could make sense for this holiday season. I think a new Warriors game or something. I think, Pokemon, as I mentioned already, that totally could happen. Mario Party is definitely smaller. A Mario sports game. What's really a big game at this point? Zelda? Smash Bros? Mario Kart? Yeah, I don't think anybody was really expecting any new major entries in those franchises this year. But I have to say, man, if it's not coming out this year, I just hope we actually get that Nintendo Direct sooner than later. I was thinking maybe in April, so this is kind of my timeline in my head here. If we get a partner showcase next week and then a Pokemon Presents in late February, that kind of checks out. That makes sense based on what we've heard. That could be. Then in early March or maybe middle of March, Nintendo actually officially announces the Switch 2 via a press release, which is what they've done for most of their past consoles, be it a press release or just a codename drop to investors during an investor meeting. The 3DS was announced in a press release, right? Maybe they announce it in a press release before GDC. That way they can show it off at GDC to developers. Then we'll probably start seeing a lot of leaks at that point. And then they actually fully unveil it in June. Maybe if they unveil it in June, we can get a regular direct focus on Switch 1 games in April. But why not just do it in February? Maybe they're going to say in that April Direct, hey, all of these games are going to be playable on our next generation hardware that we announced in March. Go check out that. But that just feels weird, especially if they're not going to release a trailer really showing the console, right? Nintendo's marketing this year is already off to a very weird start. I hope we just hear something officially soon, be it that partner showcase, be it a Pokemon Presents, be it the announcement of the Switch 2 itself and official confirmation that it's coming in late 2024 or 2025, and then hopefully a Nintendo Direct for Switch 1 games. That is my main thing at this point that I want to see, because if the Switch 2 isn't coming out this year, they need to announce the slate of games for 2024. They have to have more. Or maybe it's going to be a repeat of 2016 where all we get is a new Pokemon game and there's some Pokemon Go 2 action going on mobile phones or something, and then there's just nothing else this year, and it's just going to be a really bad year. I don't think that would happen. I don't think that makes sense, but I don't know, preparing for the worst, I guess. So let me know what you think down in the comments below. I'm recording this very hot off the presses, so maybe we'll see some other outlets kind of corroborate this information. I will say before I end off here, I did think it was suspicious that no one else had really been reporting a March reveal for the Switch 2, based on Nate the Hate. They had said that, as well as Necrolipe. I thought that was a little weird. Like, if this thing was getting really announced in March, surely we would start hearing a lot more people kind of theorizing and speculating about that. I also think it's weird that we haven't heard a bunch of game leaks. Like, we haven't heard anything about, like, the new Assassin's Creed coming over, or really Monster Hunter even. I think Necrolipe had kind of rumored that one, but we don't really know any third-party games coming to this thing, and I would have to imagine that Western third parties are going to be supporting it way more than the Switch. Certainly some of those games would have started leaking by now, right? It's a crazy time. We'll have to wait and see what happens. Like I said, I'm recording this early, so maybe more information will come out after I post it. And of course, I'll do an updated video if and when that does happen. But let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Are you Team 2024 or Team 2025? I have to say, Team 2025 taking a big win today, even though it's still an L because now we have to wait longer to play the new games, and maybe the Switch one doesn't have that much. So really, I won, but at what cost? You know, it's that Thanos meme. It's like, I don't know about this one, man. It could be a rough year for Nintendo fans if the Switch 2 isn't releasing and there aren't that many big games. But I digress. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Of course, follow me on Twitter at BoTalksGames. Join the Discord that is linked down below. And until next time, folks, peace.